What's going on, movie fans? My name is Michael Weir. I love talking about movies, and I love collecting movies. For those of you who've been around my channel for a while, you know that every couple of months, I like to do a Blu-ray collection update video. That's where I take a bunch of movies that I've purchased since the last time that I did a Blu-ray collection update video, and I talk about them here on camera, and then I put them in their final resting place on my shelves back there. And speaking of those shelves back there, I have over 1,100 titles on them, and so if you're new to my channel and you want to watch me talk about those movies, well, I've got all of my previous Blu-ray collection updates right here on this channel, and I'll link them down below. With that said, if you are new and you want to subscribe to my channel to check out all of the different content, I have Blu-ray reviews, movie reviews, series reviews, and even ranked videos where I put movies in the order that I personally believe they belong in. With all that said, let's get into my Blu-ray collection update video. First up, we have Get Out, and Get Out is my favorite of Jordan Peele's movies that he's made so far. I actually think Us is extremely overrated, and I thought Nope was fine, but Get Out, I think, was a great directorial debut for him. I thought that his blend of horror and comedy and mystery really worked for me. Really enjoyed Get Out. Had to put it on my shelves back there. Next up, we have Forgetting Sarah Marshall, which I don't remember too much about this movie. I've seen it once. I know that Get Him to the Greek was funnier, in my opinion, and I think that's the better of the two movies, and it is somewhere in here. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Next up, we have another comedy, and that is Sausage Party, and this is a movie I've seen once, and it's kind of funny with comedy because you can go really far if you're not using humans. And what I mean by that is, like, the movie Strays came out in 2023, and they use dogs, and you can go as far as you want, push the comedy as far as you want, and nobody gets upset. With this movie, it's food. You can go as far as you want. You can have food do orgies and make jokes and be messed up on screen, and it's no problem at all. But if you put humans in these situations, oh, there'd be a problem. That's comedy these days. But we'll move on. Next up, we have The Condemned, which is like the R-rated version of The Hunger Games. If you like The Hunger Games and you want to see something a little harder, I think The Condemned is the way to go. This movie stars Stone Cold Steve Austin. It also stars Vinnie Jones. He plays a great villain. Like I said, it's like a Hunger Games. Before The Hunger Games was big or popular, The Condemned came out, and it's the better version of it, in my opinion. Next up, we have Get Him to the Greek, and this is a movie with Russell Brand and Jonah Hill. It's a spin-off of Forgetting Sarah Marshall. This is the one I remember more. The Stroke the Furry Walls theme was funny. I just think this is the better of the two movies. Next up, we have Battle Los Angeles, and I actually have a story for this movie. I saw it twice in theaters, but not because it was that good. The first time I went to go see this movie, I got an emergency text. I had to go pick my sister up from somewhere. I don't know, it was like 10 plus years ago. I don't remember what it was, but I had to leave. The second time I came back to watch this movie, I watched it, and I can't really tell you much about it. It was pretty forgettable. But I do know that Tom Jane is in this movie. It's a sci-fi movie about aliens coming to Earth. And you know, our opinions on movies change over time. So I'm curious if I watch this again, if I'll get more out of it, or if it'll still just sort of be a throwaway sci-fi movie about another alien invasion. But we'll move on. The next movie up is Bourne Legacy. And this is my least favorite of the Bourne movies. I got it to complete the collection. I now have all 5 Jason Bourne movies that have been released, and the other 4 are better. To me, this movie sort of tainted the series because in the first 3 movies, he's just this awesome spy slash assassin who's going through and killing people because he was trained to be like that. But in this movie, they're like, oh no, also they're superhuman. Yeah, you know the superhero craze? We're going to force that into the Bourne franchise. So no shade on Jeremy Renner here, but just going that direction with the story where they're all super powered just didn't work for me personally. Next up, we have The Monuments Men, and The Monuments Men is a World War II movie about a group of soldiers who went in to protect different art pieces throughout World War II. It's got George Clooney, it's got Matt Damon, it's got Bill Murray, a bunch of familiar faces in this movie. It's a movie I haven't watched yet, but I am looking forward to checking it out. It's a World War II movie, and I love movies set in World War II, so I guess we will watch that when I watch it, and I'll let you guys know what I think about it down the line. Next up, we have The Last Stand, and Arnold really went from being the governor of California to The Last Stand, and this is one of my favorite movies that he's done. Plus, Johnny Knoxville's in it. I really enjoy this movie. It's a really simple plot about a villain who's kind of coming through their town, and they've got to stop him. They have to put up a final stand or a last stand against this guy, and it's a good movie. Next up, we have Moneyball, and I'm not a big fan of sports movies, but this is is a great movie. Brad Pitt, Jonah Hill, about the Oakland A's, and I really like that it's not really about the sport as much as it is sort of manipulating the sport itself, and that's what this movie is, and it's a good time. It's an enjoyable movie. Next up, we have the movie Boyhood, and I don't really know much about this movie. I know that it has Ethan Hawke in it, but my buddy Alex Leba told me if you don't know anything about it, just go in completely blind. So I will check this movie out soon, especially since he gave it such a glowing review. We'll see. From there, we have Funny People. Funny People's a movie with Seth Rogen and Adam Sandler, and I don't think it did too well when it came out, but anything with Adam Sandler in it, I want to check out, and so I added it to my collection. Next up, we have VHS, and VHS is a movie I saw when it originally came out. I really enjoyed this movie about a bunch of guys breaking into a guy's house, and they find these old VHS tapes all marked differently, and so you get to watch several different horror shorts, all shot by different directors, different crews, and they all have this overarching VHS storyline, and I really like that about this movie. I enjoyed this movie when it first came out. I've seen a couple of the sequels, and they're not great, but now that I have this one, it'll probably start happening. I'll start collecting all of them. It's just kind of how it goes. We'll move on. The next one up is Atomic Blonde, another movie on this pile of movies that I haven't watched yet. Picked this up because it was on super sale. I heard it's got a lot of John Wick style violence, and you tell me John Wick style violence and I'm gonna check it out no matter what. It's got Charlize Theron in it. It also has James McAvoy, who I think is a great actor, so I'm looking forward to checking out Atomic Blonde. Next up, we have Percy Jackson and the Sea of Monsters. I remember seeing this in theaters, but I know nothing about this movie. I saw it a long time ago when it first came out. I'm going to check it out soon because I just showed my kids Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief over New Year's, and so they liked it, or at least my son did, so I'm sure we'll be watching Sea of Monsters very soon. And since we're talking about Percy Jackson, the next one up is Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. Now, this is a movie where if you watch too much of this movie and you're looking for the CGI, it's not good. And honestly, there's not a ton about this movie that's good, but my son enjoyed it, so it's really just more of an adventure movie that you can show your kids, and it's sort of gateway to like horror or adventure stuff that they'll be able to watch soon. And I'm looking forward to showing them that stuff. So gotta start with the easy stuff. And speaking of my kids, the next movie we're going to talk about is Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. You know, they saw the previews for the newest Wonka movie, and none of them were too excited about it. And I was like, this is because you need to see the original. So I picked this up to show them. When we have another movie night down here, I will show them Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Next up, we have The House with Its Clock in the Walls. It's a movie directed by Eli Roth. It's actually like a family-friendly movie directed by Eli Roth, and that alone gets me interested. I'm excited to check this one out with my kids. They love Jack Black, so I think between it being Jack Black and a family sort of adventure movie, should be a fun time. Next up, guys, we have Brothers, and Brothers is a movie with Jake Gyllenhaal, who's one of my favorite actors of all time. It also has Tobey Maguire, who is great, and Natalie Portman, who is great, and this is a movie about a soldier dealing with PTSD, coming back from the war. It's a great movie. If you haven't checked it out, you need to watch Brothers. Next up, we have Smokin' Aces 2. And admittedly, this is the worst of the two Smokin' Aces movies. The first one has Ryan Reynolds, so you're just going to go downhill from there with another movie. But I remember it still having a fun twist and being an enjoyable time, just sort of a throwaway action movie. Next up, guys, we have a movie that I actually watched when I was a teenager, and I was dog sitting for some neighbors down the street. They said, hey, eat whatever's in the fridge, watch whatever's on the TV, and so I watched several movies. It's also the same place I saw the original Saw movie for the first time. That's kind of a cool story, too. But I saw Pleasantville there, and Pleasantville is a really fun movie starring Tobey Maguire and Reese Witherspoon. They play brother and sister who fight over the remote one day, and they accidentally get sucked into this old black and white sitcom, and while they're there, they have to sort of navigate life in this black and white world. And what I really remember about this movie, really stands out to me, is this black and white world and then the use of color, how it slowly invades that black and white world because you're bringing in teenagers from the early 2000s. It's just something about that time frame and being able to pull those colors in. It really just makes the movie that much better. I really enjoy Pleasantville. Next up, we have another Arnold movie, and that is Kindergarten Cop. I remember having a good time with this movie. Arnold has to go undercover as a kindergarten teacher to try and catch the guys he's trying to catch, but in the meantime, he learns the meaning of life, or something along those lines. He becomes a better person because he's teaching kids. That's how it goes in that movie. Next up, we have the movie Stir of Echoes, and it's another movie I haven't watched yet, and there's a lot of them here today, but I promise I have seen a lot of movies.
You know anything about film?
I know everything about film.
I've seen over 240 of them.
But Stir of Echoes stars Kevin Bacon, and it's a horror movie, so it's probably a movie I will save towards September, October, but it is one I plan on watching in 2024. Next up, guys, we have the movie Timeline, and Timeline is not a very good movie, but I bought the movie because I was reading the book Timeline recently. It's written by Michael Crichton, and Michael Crichton also wrote Jurassic Park, and I thought, well, if they adapted that book into the greatness that is the Jurassic Park world, well, what could they do with Timeline? Because Timeline's got this really cool sci-fi edge to it, while it also has this sword and sandals epic feel to it. And then I watched the movie after I read the book, and I was very disappointed. They just really take little things from that book and then go their own direction with it, and I was very disappointed as a massive fan of Michael Crichton and of that book. And knowing that his books can be adapted into something as great as Jurassic Park or even the movie Sphere, which is another Michael Crichton adaptation that I really enjoy. So I picked up Timeline, and it's in my collection now, but it's not a movie I'll probably ever go back to. I do hope one day we can get a Timeline TV show, because like I said, that little sci-fi edge that it has to it, while it's also a sword and sandals epic, you could stretch that into 10 episodes and I think tell the story very well, or you could make a couple seasons out of it, have people keep going back in time. There's a lot of things you could do with Timeline, and I hope they do it one day. But for now, the only piece of physical media that we have on it is this, and I will put it in my collection. And since we just got done with one Paul Walker movie, let's move on to another Paul Walker movie, and that would be Tammy and the T-Rex. This was actually given to me by a friend of mine, and I told him that since this was given to me, I will not only be watching this movie in 2024, but I will do a full review for it on my channel here in 2024. So be on the lookout for my review of Tammy and the T-Rex. I really appreciate him for that. If you're watching this, you know who you are. Thank you. Next up, I don't want to be judged for this, but I know I will be. I haven't seen this movie, but it's Forrest Gump. But listen, the fact that I own it now puts it one step closer to being a movie that I will watch one day. I don't know. It's just one of those things where when people ask me what I think about Forrest Gump and I tell them I haven't seen it, they're like, well, how do you say you like movies and you haven't watched Forrest Gump? And I'm like, I don't know, it's just weirdly eluded me all of these years. So maybe this will be another one I do a review for, just so I can officially tell people I've seen Forrest Gump. We'll see. I don't think my wife's seen it either, so maybe we'll both watch it together. I don't know. If you're watching this, let me know if you've seen it. If you want to make a movie night out of it, we'll pop some popcorn, we'll do our thing. It'll be a good time. Next up, guys, we have Insidious 3, and Insidious 3 is a movie that is a prequel to the original two Insidious movies, and it's fine. It's a good movie. I remember watching this in the theater with my wife, and we enjoyed it, but I wasn't like overly excited about it. I just now added it to my collection. Next up, guys, we have a movie that's only in my collection because of my Saw review. In my Saw review, I said Carrie Elvis wasn't a great actor, and my brother Isaac corrected me on that and was like, haven't you seen The Princess Bride? And I was like, no, I haven't seen that yet. So I picked up The Princess Bride on Blu-ray. We watched the movie down here in my movie theater room, and I loved it. My kids loved it even more. It's a movie that I'll watch going forward again and again. I can't believe I hadn't seen this movie until very recently, but The Princess Bride, it's now going to be on my shelf. Again, it's a movie I will revisit. And Isaac, thanks for the recommendation. Moving on to the final three movies we're going to talk about here today. The next one up is Insidious The Last Key. I don't remember much about this movie. I remember seeing it right when it first came out and just being like, oh, well, the Insidious franchise is dead. But then Insidious The Red Door came out last year, and I feel like it's revived a little bit. And maybe I'll go back and rewatch this movie. Maybe I'll have a better time with it the next time around. All right, guys, so the last two movies we're going to talk about here today are both steelbooks. The first one is Spiral from the Book of Saw. Now, this was an upgrade that I had from Blu-ray to Steelbook 4K, but my local disc replay was doing half off on all steelbooks. So I think I got this for $5 or $6, something crazy. But look at that. I love the color pink that they use in here. I think that's a great looking case. Chris Rock looks awesome in this. And, you know, it's not my favorite of the Saw movies, but I still have an okay time with it. And so now I own it on 4K Steelbook. And the last Steelbook I want to show you guys here today is Halloween 2018. But take a look at this Steelbook. Again, I got it at my local disc replay for half off. I think I paid $10 for it total. Look at that, inside and out. It is a great looking case. It is on 4K, and I did previously own this on 4K as well. This is just something that's cool to have in the collection. Again, this is a collection for me. It's more than just owning the movie. Otherwise, I'd never upgrade the transfer. I would just be like, oh, I already have it on 4K. It's no big deal. But I love this Steelbook case. I actually love the case for the original 4K look as well. So I think I'm going to keep both. I've just got 2018 on my shelf a couple times. It's just how it's going to be. All right, guys, so those are the brand new things I'm adding to my shelves back there, but I do have one other thing I want to show you here today, and it's sort of Blu-ray adjacent. My buddy Alex Leba got me a copy of The Shining signed by Shelley Duvall. And the fact that those words just came out of my mouth still blows my mind. It's still incredible to me that I'm holding something that was signed by Shelley Duvall. But the fact that she signed The Shining, which is such a great movie. I love her in this movie. To have a signed copy of it in my collection just means the world to me. And I wanted to share it with you guys here today. So Shelley Duvall's signature on The Shining. Thought I'd share that. That's going to be in my collection forever now. With all that said, though, guys, those are the things I'm updating to my Blu-ray collection this month, and I'm excited for what I update it with next month or the month after that, just depending on when I get a big stack of movies together again. With all that said, though, guys, if you like this video and you want to watch more, don't forget to hit the like button because it helps the video, it helps the channel, and it helps me right here. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Alright guys, we got to the end of my Blu-ray collection update video, and I love making these videos because I get to talk about so many different genres, so many different styles of movies at one time with you guys, and then I get to go in the comment section and go back and forth with you about what you've added to your collection, or maybe if I've added something to my collection that you're looking for. It's just fun to go back and forth. I enjoy doing that. But if you want to watch more content on my channel in the meantime, you could check out all of my Blu-ray collection updates right there, or you can check out all of my 2023 movie reviews right there.